What if a flight attendant targeted black siblings to surrender their seats for a white passenger only for their single phone call to ground the entire plane? Welcome to the grounded truth on Flight 2187, a story that'll seize your heart and upend your expectations with a twist so electrifying it'll leave you breathless. Picture this: a packed economy cabin, engines idling on the tarmac, where a quiet request to switch seats ignites a confrontation that exposes prejudice and sparks a movement. Buckle up, this tale of resilience, defiance, and jaw-dropping redemption is about to take you on a turbulent journey. The economy cabin of Flight 2187 to Atlanta was a cramped mosaic of restless passengers. Its narrow aisles and faded blue seats, a stark contrast to the first-class opulence up front. The air carried the stale scent of recycled oxygen, mingling with the faint aroma of instant coffee and pretzel packets. Overhead bins clicked shut, their compartments stuffed with carry-ons, while the hum of idling engines vibrated through the floor, a constant reminder of the journey ahead. Passengers fidgeted, their voices a low buzz of complaints about legroom and delayed connections, their eyes glued to phones or the safety cards tucked in seat pockets. The cabin was a microcosm of travel, equal parts anticipation and irritation, where every seat assignment was a contract and every interaction a potential spark. Row 16 seats, C and D, held two siblings whose presence was about to turn this routine flight into a battleground of truth and justice. Jamal Carter sat in the aisle seat, his 6'2" frame folded into the cramped space, his tailored gray blazer slightly creased from a long morning. At 36, Jamal was a black lawyer who just made partner at a Chicago firm, his sharp mind and steady demeanor honed by years of navigating courtrooms and corporate biases. His short, neatly trimmed hair framed a face that carried both his father's intensity and his mother's warmth, his dark eyes scanning the cabin with quiet vigilance. Beside him in the window seat was his sister Aisha Carter, a sociology professor at Northwestern. Her PhD, a testament to her brilliance. Her braided hair pulled into a neat bun, her casual sweater and jeans, a contrast to her academic poise. Aisha's observant eyes, inherited from their mother, flicked to the in-flight magazine, but her mind was on their destination, a family celebration in Atlanta for their parents' 50th anniversary, a milestone delayed by pandemics and surgeries, but now within reach. The siblings had booked these seats together, a rare chance to plan their surprise, a new community center funded by their success while soaring toward home. But their plans were about to collide with a prejudice that would ground more than a flight. The cabin's hum was pierced by a commotion near the front, where a middle-aged white woman with perfectly styled blonde hair argued with a flight attendant, her gestures sharp, her voice rising over the din. Jamal glanced up, his lawyer's instinct noting the tension, but he returned to his phone, checking emails about his firm's latest case. Aisha nudged him, her voice low. "Late passenger," she said, her professor's eye for social dynamics already analyzing the scene. "She's not happy." Jamal shrugged, his focus on a client brief. "Not our problem," he said, but his words would soon prove wrong as the confrontation moved toward row 16, a spark about to ignite a firestorm. The flight attendant, a woman in her 50s with sandy blonde hair pulled into a tight bun, approached their row, her navy uniform crisp but her smile strained. Her name tag read Karen Walsh, and her eyes carried a flicker of irritation as she addressed the siblings, the blonde woman trailing behind, her designer purse clutched tightly. "Excuse me," Karen said, her voice professional, but clipped. "We have a situation. Mrs. Hargrove here was supposed to sit with her husband, but there was a mix-up with her booking. Would one of you be willing to move to seat 28B so they can sit together? It'd be a big help." Jamal looked past Karen to the first-class section where a well-dressed man scrolled his phone, seemingly unbothered by his wife's plight. Mrs. Hargrove's face was flushed, her lips pursed her entitlement. Palpable, Mr. and Mrs. Hargrove, seated in 1A and 1B, were Pinnacle Enterprises board members, their wealth evident in her pearl necklace and his tailored suit, their presence a quiet endorsement of Karen's request. Jamal's brow furrowed, his voice calm but firm. "Her husband's in first class," he said, stating the obvious. "Why are we being asked to move?" Karen's smile tightened, her posture stiffening. "There are no seats left in first class," she said, her tone edged with impatience. Mrs. Hargrove missed her upgrade due to a security delay. "Seat 28B is an aisle seat just further back." Aisha straightened, her professor's precision cutting through. "We booked these seats together for a family event." she said, her voice steady. We need to stay together to discuss details. There must be other solo travelers who'd be more willing to move. Karen's eyes narrowed, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face. You were the first I approached, she said, her excuse thin. If you're not willing, I'll ask someone else. Before Karen could turn, Mrs. Hargrove interjected, her voice sharp. I paid full price for my ticket, and it's not my fault the airline overbooked, she said, her pearl necklace glinting. I should be with my husband, not stuck in the back because these people won't cooperate. The phrase "these people" landed like a slap. Its implication heavy, the cabin's hum fading as nearby passengers turned their eyes wide. Jamal's jaw tightened, a familiar heat rising in his chest, the same anger he'd learned to suppress since childhood, when prejudice wore a subtler mask. Aisha's voice was low-cutting. What people would that be? She asked, her gaze locking onto Mrs. Hargrove's, her academic poise a shield against the insult. Mrs. Hargrove flushed her words, stumbling. I meant passengers who booked together. Obviously, she said, her denial unconvincing. Karen intervened, her voice strained. Let's find another solution, she said. But Jamal raised a hand, his lawyer's instinct taking over. It's fine, he said. His tone controlled his eyes, never leaving Karen's. I'll move, but only after I speak with the captain. Karen blinked, her composure slipping. The captain's busy with pre-flight checks, she said, her voice rising. I can handle this. Jamal pulled out his phone, his fingers steady as he dialed the airline's ethics line, a number he'd memorized after a similar incident years ago. I'd prefer to confirm with him, he said, his voice calm but unyielding. This feels like targeted discrimination, and I have the right to report it before changing seats. The word discrimination froze the cabin passengers, whispering some pulling out phones, the tension palpable. Lila Nguyen, a 28-year-old tech analyst in 17C, slipped her phone from her pocket, her thumb hitting record, her heart racing as she captured the exchange. Her instincts honed by years of documenting workplace biases, Lila, whose parents had faced similar slights as immigrants, recognized the pattern in Karen's behavior. The forced smile, the selective urgency. Mr. Hargrove, watching from first class, leaned forward. His tailored suit, a silent endorsement of his wife's demand, his smirk a quiet jab at the siblings. Mrs. Hargrove's voice rose, her entitlement unchecked. I'm a platinum member, she snapped. I shouldn't have to beg for my seat. Aisha's response was measured, her professor's clarity sharp. We're not begging, she said. We're asserting our rights to seats we paid for. Karen's face flushed, her control unraveling. If you're uncooperative, I'll involve security, she said, her threat a blade meant to silence. The cabin gasped, passengers shifting, some filming, others murmuring in disbelief. Jamal's voice remained steady, his phone to his ear as the ethics line connected. Yes, sir, we're on flight 2187 to Atlanta, still on the tarmac, he said, his words clear, commanding attention. I'm reporting an incident of discrimination by a flight attendant. My sister and I are being asked to give up our seats for a late passenger, and I believe it's because of our race. Karen's face paled, her voice trembling. That's absolutely not true, she said. But Jamal held up a finger, his gaze unrelenting. The flight departs in 20 minutes, he continued. I need to speak with the captain immediately. The cabin fell silent, conversations dying, children stilling the engine's hum, a distant drone. Lila's video, now uploading to her social media, captioned, Flight attendant targets. Black passengers, wrong move began to spread its views, climbing to 10,000 in minutes. Norjet scandal trending. Nora, a younger black flight attendant with a warm smile, approached from the galley, her name tag glinting, her unease evident as she overheard Karen's threat. Is everything okay? She asked, her voice soft but firm, her eyes flicking to Jamal and Aisha. Karen's response was sharp. Handle your section, Nora, she snapped, her authority faltering. Aisha's voice cut through her tone, academic but fierce. It's not okay, she said. We're being singled out and we deserve an explanation. A voice broke the standoff. Calm but commanding. I'll switch seats, said Harold Jensen, a 70-year-old retired activist in 28B, rising from his seat, his gray hair and tweed jacket, a quiet contrast to the cabin's tension. Harold, who'd marched with civil rights leaders in the 60s, had been chatting with the siblings at the gate, his warm demeanor a bridge across generations. I'm happy to move, so these siblings can stay together, he said, his eyes meeting Karen's, his tone gentle but unyielding. They're heading to a family event. Seems important. Karen's relief was palpable, her smile forced. That's perfect, sir, she said. Thank you, Mrs. Hargrove, however, bristled her pearl necklace glinting. I need the aisle seat, she said, her voice sharp. I have a medical condition. Harold's smile was genial, disarming. I'm a window man, he said. I'll take the middle, leaving you the aisle. Works for everyone, right? Mrs. Hargrove nodded stiffly, outmaneuvered and took the aisle seat beside Jamal, her purse clutched tightly. Harold settled into the middle seat, his tweed jacket, a quiet rebellion, his voice cheerful. Nice to continue our chat, he said to Aisha as if the tension hadn't existed. You were telling me about your research? The cabin's murmurs resumed, but row 16 remained charged. The siblings exchanging a glance, their shared resilience. A silent bond. Lila's video hit 50,000 views. Comments raging. This is discrimination and support, these siblings. Mr. Hargrove in first class smirked his silence, a tacit approval of his wife's privilege. His tailored suit, a shield he'd soon regret. The resolution was short-lived. As the plane pushed back from the gate, Karen returned with Nora, her face a mask of forced calm. There's another issue, she said, addressing Jamal and Aisha. We need one of you to move, for after all, Mrs. Hargrove's medical needs require her to sit with her husband. Jamal stared, disbelief washing over him. We resolved this, he said, his voice rising. Harold switched seats. Karen gestured to Mr. Hargrove, now standing in the aisle, his first-class seat suddenly expendable. Mr. Hargrove is giving up his seat to join his wife, she said, her excuse flimsy. We need to accommodate them here. Aisha's voice was sharp, her professor's logic cutting. First, you target us for her aisle seat, she said. Now you invent a new reason to displace us. What's really going on? Karen's expression hardened, her voice low. It's a medical necessity, she said, but Jamal's eyes narrowed, his lawyer's instinct sensing a lie. A necessity that wasn't mentioned until now. He set his phone still in hand, and Mr. Hargrove didn't care until the captain was involved. I'm calling this what it is, discrimination. The cabin gasped, passengers filming Lila's video, hitting 100,000 views, comments demanding justice, ground the plane and fire her. Harold stood his cane steady, his voice calm but firm. I'm a former civil rights lawyer. He said, his tweed jacket a quiet authority. This looks like targeted bias, and I'd like to speak with the captain myself. Karen's face paled, her voice trembling. Sir, you need to sit during taxi, she said, but Harold's gaze was unrelenting. Then stop the plane, he said. This is a serious accusation, and I'm prepared to pursue it. The standoff stretched the cabin's tension. A living thing, passengers whispering, some supportive, others annoyed at the delay. Nora's discomfort was evident, her eyes flicking to Karen, her silence a conflict of duty and conscience. Jamal's call connected, his voice steady. This is Jamal Carter. Flight 2187, he said to the ethics line. We're being targeted for our race, and I'm requesting an immediate investigation. The plane shouldn't depart until this is addressed. The intercom crackled. Captain David Lawrence's voice cutting through. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a delay due to an administrative issue. Please remain seated. The plane halted, its engines idling the cabin, a pressure cooker of anticipation. Lila's video hit 200,000 views. Hashtag grounded. Truth trending, comments, a global outcry. This is justice and stand tall, siblings. Karen's voice trembled, her authority crumbling. There's no need to escalate, she said, but Jamal's gaze was steady. You escalated it, he said, his lawyer's precision sharp. Now we're resolving it. Aisha's voice joined her professor's clarity, a weapon. This isn't about seats, she said. It's about who gets to be seen as human. The cabin's murmurs grew, passengers nodding, some filming, the truth rising like a tide. Nora stepped forward, her voice soft but resolute. I'll get the captain, she said, defying Karen's glare. Her name tag, a quiet rebellion. The grounded plane, the viral video, and the siblings' stand had turned row 16 into a stage for justice, with the world watching, and a reckoning on the horizon. The economy cabin of Flight 2187 to Atlanta was a crucible of tension, its faded blue seats and cramped aisles a stark contrast to the seismic confrontation that had grounded the plane on the tarmac. Jamal Carter, a 36-year-old black lawyer, stood in the aisle of row 16, his tailored gray blazer, a quiet emblem of his resolve, his dark eyes locked on flight attendant Karen Walsh, whose sandy blonde bun and navy uniform now seemed frail under the weight of her actions. Beside him, Aisha Carter, his 31-year-old sister and a sociology professor, sat in the window seat, her braided bun and casual sweater belying her fierce intellect, her gaze piercing as she processed the unfolding drama. Karen had demanded the siblings give up their seats for a white passenger, Mrs. Hargrove sparking a standoff that escalated when Jamal called the airline's ethics line, accusing her of racial discrimination. The viral video filmed by passenger Lila Nguyen in 17C had exploded online. Its footage of Karen's insistence and Mrs. Hargrove's entitled these people remark, amassing 500,000 views with hashtags #NorjetScandal and #GroundedTruth trending globally. Harold Jensen, a 70-year-old retired civil rights lawyer, in a tweed jacket had intervened, his calm authority amplifying the siblings' stand, while Nora, a younger black flight attendant, wavered between duty and conscience, her name tag glinting as she moved to fetch the captain. Mr. and Mrs. Hargrove, the elitist couple from first class, sat in silence, their pearl necklace and tailored suit no shield against the cabin's growing outrage. The plane remained grounded and its engines idling, and the cabin was no longer just a flight. It was a courtroom with Jamal and Aisha's grounded truth poised to deliver a verdict that would echo far beyond the tarmac. The cabin's silence was heavy, broken only by the soft hum of the engines and the rustle of passengers shifting in their seats, their phones raised, capturing every moment. Lila's video, now at 600,000 views, fueled a digital firestorm. Comments raging. "This is racism," and "Support the Carters." Passengers whispered, some supportive, others frustrated by the delay, their eyes darting between Jamal, standing tall in the aisle, and Karen, whose flushed face betrayed her unraveling composure. Aisha's hands rested on her lap, her professor's poise a shield, but her fingers twitched, betraying the anger beneath her calm. Harold, seated in the middle, leaned forward, his tweed jacket a quiet rebellion, his cane steady as he addressed Karen. "As a lawyer, I've seen bias dressed up as policy before," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "You've targeted these siblings and you know it. Let's resolve this with the captain before it escalates further." Karen's lips trembled, her voice sharp. "There's no bias," she said, but her denial rang hollow. The cabin's murmurs, a chorus of doubt. Nora returned her warm smile, strained her eyes flicking to Jamal. "The captain's ready to speak with you," she said, her voice soft but resolute, defying Karen's glare. "Mr. Carter, Miss Carter, Mr. Jensen, please follow me." Jamal and Aisha exchanged a glance, their shared resilience, a silent pact, and rose their steps steady as they followed Nora to the front. Harold trailing with his cane, his presence a bridge across generations. The cabin watched passengers, filming, some nodding in support, others muttering about delays. The tension, a living thing. Lila's video hit 700,000 views, comments flooding in. "Ground that plane and justice for row 16. Mr. Hargrove, now back in first class, leaned forward, his tailored suit, a silent endorsement of his wife's privilege, his smirk fading as he sensed the shifting tide. Mrs. Hargrove in the aisle seat clutched her purse, her pearl necklace glinting her face, a mask of controlled neutrality. Her earlier entitlement a weight she couldn't shed. Outside the cockpit, Captain David Lawrence awaited, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his 50s, his gray temples and steady gaze exuding authority, his name tag gleaming under the cabin's lights. "Mr. Carter, Miss Carter, Mr. Jensen." He greeted, his handshake firm, his voice calm but weighted. "I understand there's been a seating dispute. I'd like to hear your side directly." Jamal's lawyer's precision took over, his voice clear. "It's more than a dispute, Captain," he said, his blazer creased but his resolve unyielding. "My sister and I were targeted to give up our seats for a late passenger. Mrs. Hargrove, despite booking together for a family event. When we questioned it, the justification shifted and we were threatened with security. This feels like racial discrimination, and I've reported it to the ethics line." Aisha's voice joined her professor's clarity sharp. "The pattern's clear," she said, her braided bun a quiet crown. "We were singled out, and when a solution was offered by Mr. Jensen, new reasons were invented to displace us. This isn't about seats, it's about bias." Harold's voice was steady, his civil rights experience lending weight. "I witnessed the entire exchange," he said, his tweed jacket a quiet authority. "The flight attendant's actions were inconsistent with standard policy. She ignored other options and targeted these siblings even after I volunteered to switch. As a lawyer, I find it deeply concerning." Captain Lawrence's expression remained neutral, his eyes flicking to Nora, who stood nearby, her discomfort evident. "Flight attendant Williams, what did you observe?" he asked, his voice firm but fair. Nora hesitated, her gaze dropping her loyalty to Karen, warring with her conscience. I joined after the initial request, she said, her voice soft. But I saw the Carters being asked to move despite Mr. Jensen's solution. It wasn't typical procedure. The captain's jaw tightened. His silence a moment of calculation, his authority a counterpoint to Karen's faltering control. Lila's video hit 800,000 views. The cabin's murmurs growing as passengers checked their phones. The hashtag #GroundedTruth trending globally commented, demanding accountability. Fire that attendant and stand with Jamal and Aisha. Karen, standing in his galley, overheard the captain's meeting, her face paling, her hands trembling as she realized the scope of her mistake. The intercom crackled, Captain Lawrence's voice cutting through. Ladies and gentlemen, we're addressing an administrative issue. We'll remain on the tarmac until resolved. Thank you for your patience. The cabin gasped, passengers whispering some filming, others nodding in support, the delay, a testament to the siblings' stand. Jamal's call to the ethics line connected again, his voice steady. This is an update, he said. The captain's involved, but the flight attendant's actions need immediate review. I'm requesting a formal investigation and her suspension pending outcome. Captain Lawrence turned to the group, his gaze resolute. The safety and dignity of every passenger is my responsibility, he said, his voice a quiet command. If discrimination has occurred, it's unacceptable. I'm filing an incident report and I need to decide our next steps. He paused, his eyes meeting Jamal's. Mr. Carter, you requested to speak with me earlier and you were denied. That's a failure on my crew's part, and I apologize. Jamal nodded his blazer, a quiet shield. Thank you, Captain, he said. We want to continue the flight in our seats, but we need assurance this won't happen again. Aisha's voice was firm, her professor's logic unyielding. This isn't just about us, she said. It's about every passenger who's been targeted for their race. Your policies need to change, Harold's voice added. Wait, his cane steady. I've seen airlines hide behind procedure to excuse bias, he said. You have a chance to set a standard here, Captain Lawrence's expression hardened, his decision forming. We'll proceed with you in your original seats, he said. I'm suspending Miss Walsh from duty, effective immediately pending investigation. The Carringtons can rebook if needed. The cabin's murmurs grew, passengers nodding, some filming. Lila's video hitting 1 million views, comments, a global outcry, justice served, and Captain's a hero. Nora's eyes shone with relief, her support for the siblings, a quiet rebellion, her voice soft. I'll ensure your comfort, she said, her name tag glinting. The captain turned to Karen, who'd approached, her face pale, her uniform a hollow relic. Ms. Walsh, you're relieved of duty, he said, his voice firm but not cruel. Report to ground operations upon landing. Karen's voice trembled, her excuse weak. I was following protocol, she said, but Lawrence's gaze was unrelenting. You targeted passengers and threatened security, he said. That's not protocol, it's prejudice. Karen retreated to the galley, her career teetering, her name trending as the villain of #Norjet scandal. Lila's video hit 1.5 million views, passengers sharing clips of the captain's intervention, comments praising the siblings. They stood their ground, and Aisha's a queen. Jamal and Aisha returned to row 16, their steps steady, their resilience a beacon. Harold settled back in 28B, his tweed jacket, a quiet victory, his wink to Aisha, a shared understanding. Mrs. Hargrove, still in the aisle seat, avoided their gaze, her pearl necklace dimmed by shame. Her husband's first-class seat, a futile retreat. Hargrove leaned forward, his voice low. I didn't mean for this, he said, his tailored suit a humbled shell. I'm sorry, Jamal's response was measured, his lawyer's precision. Sharp intent doesn't erase impact, he said, but an apology's a start. Aisha's voice was softer, her professor's wisdom guiding. Reflect on why this happened, she said. That's how change begins. Nora approached, her smile warm, her tray of drinks, a peace offering. Coffee for you, Mr. Carter, she asked, her voice a quiet alliance. Water for me. Aisha said, her braided bun, a crown of strength. The cabin's tension eased, passengers resuming their routines. But the air was different, charged with the weight of truth. Lila's video hit 2 million views, comments now global. This is what standing up looks like. And Norjet reform now. The captain's voice returned, steady but profound. Ladies and gentlemen, we're cleared for takeoff, he said. I apologize for the delay and reaffirm our commitment to respect for all passengers. If you witness bias, report. My door is open. The cabin applauded, some passengers nodding. Others filming the announcement, a landmark in the flight's history. Jamal revealed a quiet bombshell, his voice low as he leaned toward Aisha. I found a policy loophole, he said, his phone displaying an airline manual he'd accessed mid-call. Norjet's seating guidelines prioritize customer status over fairness, enabling bias like Karen's. I'm pushing for a corporate review. Aisha's eyes widened, her professor's mind racing. That's systemic, she said. We're not just fighting for our seats, we're fighting for everyone's. The plane taxied, its engines roaring, but the real ascent was the siblings' stand there, truth grounding a flight and sparking a reckoning. Lila in 17C posted a follow-up clip captioned, Captain sides with justice flight resumes. The video hit 3 million views. At Grounded Truth, a global movement comments praising the siblings' courage. They're heroes, Karen. In the galley sat in silence, her face buried in her hands, the weight of her actions crushing her career. Passengers in nearby rows whispered some supportive of the siblings, others frustrated by the delay. But the cabin's mood had shifted, respect, replacing indifference. Nora's service was attentive, her warmth, a counterpoint to Karen's bias, her smile, a quiet apology. Mr. Hargrove, back in first class, stood, his face flushed, his voice low as he approached row 16. I'll rebook if it helps. He set his suit, a humbled shell. Aisha's response was firm but kind. Stay, she said. But learn from this. The plane lifted off, the Atlanta skyline looming. But the real destination was justice, with Jamal and Aisha's grounded truth poised to reshape an airline and inspire a world watching in awe. Flight 2187 soared toward Atlanta, its economy cabin a transformed space where the echoes of a grounded confrontation lingered like a new dawn. The viral video captured by passenger Lila Nguyen had exploded to 10 million views. It's footage of flight attendant Karen Walsh's discriminatory demand that black siblings Jamal and Aisha Carter surrender their seats for a white passenger. Mrs. Hargrove igniting a global firestorm. Hashtags Norjet scandal and Grounded Truth trended worldwide, turning Norjet Airlines into a symbol of systemic bias and the siblings' stand in row 16 into a beacon of resistance. Jamal, a 36-year-old lawyer, sat in the aisle seat, his tailored gray blazer, a quiet emblem of his resolve, his dark eyes reflecting a hard-won victory. Aisha, his 31-year-old sister, and a sociology professor, leaned against the window, her braided bun and casual sweater framing her fierce intellect, her gaze on the clouds, but her mind on the broader fight ahead. Karen, suspended mid-flight by Captain David Lawrence, remained in the galley, her Navy uniform a relic of a career in tatters. Lila, the 28-year-old tech analyst in 17C, scrolled her phone, her video, a catalyst for change, her heart racing with pride. Nora, the black flight attendant with a warm smile, served drinks with quiet solidarity, her name tag glinting as a symbol of alliance. Mr. and Mrs. Hargrove, the elitist couple from first class, sat subdued, their pearl necklace and tailored suit dimmed by shame, their earlier entitlement a lesson learned. Harold Jensen, the 70-year-old retired civil rights lawyer in 28B, had returned to his seat, his tweed jacket a quiet victory, his cane a testament to his enduring fight. The plane was no longer just a flight, it was a movement, and the grounded truth of Jamal and Aisha's stand was forging a legacy of justice that would ripple far beyond the skies. The cabin's atmosphere had shifted, the tension of the tarmac standoff giving way to a fragile truce. Passengers resuming their routines, but with a new awareness, their eyes occasionally flicking to row 16, where Jamal and Aisha sat, their presence a quiet force. Lila's video, now at 12 million views, fueled a global conversation, comments flooding in. The Carters are heroes, and Norjet, fix your racism. News outlets ran headlines like Siblings Stand Grounds Flight, Sparks Reform, and Airline Faces Backlash, over bias, while influencers amplified the clip, turning hashtag Grounded Truth into a rallying cry for travel. Equity, workers shared stories of airline slights, ignored requests, dismissive service, echoing the siblings' experience. Their voices a chorus inspired by row 16. At Norjet's headquarters, the board led by chairwoman Evelyn Brooks convened an emergency meeting. Their polished offices a stark contrast to the public outrage, their usual confidence shaken as they faced a CEO-level crisis, sparked by a single flight attendant's prejudice. Inside the cabin, the siblings processed their victory, their shared resilience, a bond forged in childhood battles against bias. Jamal leaned toward Aisha, his voice low. That policy loophole I found, he said, his phone displaying Norjet's seating guidelines. It prioritizes customer status, code for wealth and whiteness. I'm pushing for a corporate overhaul. Aisha's eyes lit up, her professor's mind racing. That's systemic, she said, her braided bun, a quiet crown. This isn't just our fight, it's for every passenger who's been dismissed. We need to meet with Norjet's ethics team. Their conversation was interrupted by Nora, her tray of drinks, a peace offering. Coffee, Mr. Carter, she asked, her smile warm. Water for me, Aisha said, her voice soft but firm. Nora's nod was a silent alliance, her service a counterpoint to Karen's bias, her presence a reminder of the allies who'd stood with them. Mrs. Hargrove in the aisle seat remained silent. Her pearl necklace dimmed her earlier entitlement. A weight she couldn't shed, Mr. Hargrove, back in a first class, approached row 16. His tailored suit creased his face, flushed with regret. I'm sorry, he said, his voice low. I didn't realize how this looked. Jamal's response was measured, his lawyer's precision. Sharp. Realizing is the first step, he said. Acting on it is the next. Aisha's voice was gentler, her professor's wisdom. Guiding. Reflect on why you didn't see it sooner, she said. That's where change starts. Mr. Hargrove nodded his apology. A small atonement. His return to first class. A retreat from the cabin's new reality. Lila's video hit 15 million views. Passengers sharing clips of the captain's apology comments, praising the siblings. They changed the game, and Aisha's a legend. Captain Lawrence's mid-flight suspension of Karen had sent shockwaves, her absence from the cabin, a verdict delivered at 30,000 feet. In the galley, Karen sat, her face buried in her hands, her career crumbling under the weight of her actions. An older video surfaced online showing her dismissing a Latino passenger's request years prior, revealing a pattern of bias that amplified the scandal. Her name trending as the face of hashtag Norjet scandal. Norjet's board, then alerted by the ethics line, issued a statement. We're investigating the incident on Flight 2187 and reaffirm our commitment to inclusivity. The public mocked the corporate jargon comments, demanding action. Fire her and reform your policies. The siblings' stand had forced a reckoning. Their call to the ethics line, a spark that had grounded a flight and ignited a movement. Harold Jensen, back in 28B, approached row 16 during beverage service. His cane steady his tweed jacket, a quiet triumph. Mind if I interrupt? He asked, his smile warm. His phone displaying photos of his great-granddaughter. Sophia Elizabeth, born yesterday, he said, showing Aisha a picture, his pride a bridge across the cabin's divides. Today's fight reminded me of the 60s. He said, his civil rights experience lending weight. You stood your ground, and that's progress. Jamal's voice was soft, his lawyer's resolve tempered by gratitude. You stood with us, he said. That's what made the difference. Aisha's smile was faint, her professor's mind reflecting small steps. Like you said, she noted. But they add up. Harold's eyes twinkled. Your Center for Racial Justice Studies, he said to Aisha. It'll make waves in your community center. Mr. Carter, it's changing lives. The siblings exchanged glances, their shared purpose, a quiet fire. Lila's video, hitting 20 million views, commence a global chorus. Harold's a hero too. Nora's service continued her warmth, a counterpoint to the cabin's earlier tension. Her tray of drinks, a symbol of solidarity. Anything else, she asked Jamal? Her smile genuine. Just keep doing what you're doing, he said, his voice a quiet thank you. Nora's nod was resolute, her role in fetching the captain a pivotal act of courage, her presence, a reminder that change often starts with one ally. The Hargroves, now silent, avoided eye contact, their privilege a lesson they'd carry beyond the flight. A passenger in 18A, a young black woman named Maya Kim, approached her journalist notebook in hand. I'm with Atlanta Chronicle, she said, her voice soft but eager. Your story's inspiring. Can I interview you after we land? Aisha's response was measured, her professor's clarity. Sharp. It's not just our story, she said. It's every passenger's who's been overlooked. Maya's eyes lit up, her pen, scribbling her article, destined to amplify the siblings' stand. The captain's voice returned steady and profound. Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching Atlanta, he said. I thank you for your patience during our delay. Today's events remind us that respect is non-negotiable. If you witness bias, speak up. My door is open. The cabin applauded, passengers nodding, some filming. The announcement, a landmark in Norjet's history. Lila's video hit 25 million views. Comments praising the captain. He's setting a standard, and this is leadership. The siblings' call had not only grounded the plane, but forced a public commitment to change their truth, a catalyst for an airline's reckoning. Post-flight Norjet acted swiftly. Karen's termination was announced, her pattern of bias confirmed by the surface video and passenger complaints, sealing her fate. The board, pressured by the ethics line and public outrage, scrapped the customer status policy, replacing it with equitable seating guidelines overseen by a new diversity task force. The Carter Respect Initiative, a $2 million program for bias training and passenger advocacy, was launched, inspired by Jamal and Aisha Stan. Maya's article, Row 16. The flight that changed, Norjet, went viral, sparking airline reforms nationwide with competitors adopting similar policies. Lila's blog, Sky Truth, grew, partnering with Maya to amplify travel equity stories heard by a touchstone for change now at 30 million views. Comments, a global call. End airline bias. In a surprising twist, Karen contacted the Carter Initiative a year later, offering to volunteer at a community center, seeking redemption. Aisha met her gaze piercing but open. Actions speak louder than apologies, she said. Her wisdom a guide, Karen's commitment to mentoring. Youth earned cautious respect, her transformation, a quiet echo of the siblings' influence. Nora was promoted to lead Norjet's training reform. Her warm smile, a symbol of progress, her role in the standoff, a career-defining act. The Hargroves funded scholarships for the initiative, their apology public. We failed to challenge bias. Mrs. Hargrove said, her pearl necklace dimmed by humility. Jamal and Aisha, at their parents' 50th anniversary in Atlanta, shared their story. Harold attending as an honorary guest, his toast a tribute to their courage. They kept their seats, and in doing so moved us all forward. The West Side Cultural Center buzzed with family and allies. The siblings' news, Jamal's partnership, Aisha's. Emory offer met with tears of pride. Their parents, a mail carrier and teacher who'd sacrificed everything, held a sign. Our pride and joy. The Smithsonian requested Lila's video for a civil rights in transit exhibit. Its caption, Truth Grounds and Justice. Norjet's cabins became stages for respect. Its policies, a model for the industry. Jamal's community center and Aisha's racial justice studies flourished, their legacy not in the flight, but in the lives they uplifted, the systems they changed, and the truth that soared higher than any plane. Have you ever faced bias that demanded a stand? Share your story in the comments and let's inspire each other. Hit that subscribe button for more epic tales that'll change how you see the world. This is PA Storytime, and we're just getting started.